Hey everyone, and welcome to the HYPACK 2024 software webinar. For today's webinar, we're going to show you all the new features and updates in our HYPACK 2024 software version. Our presenters for today's presentation are John Lindberg, QC Manager, and Caryn Zacharias, Tech Support Manager. They both bring great experience and expertise to our company, and we're so excited to have them here with us today to talk about the HYPACK 2024 software release. With that, I'm going to turn over the presentation to John and Caryn.
Greetings, everybody. Hello from snowy Connecticut here. It's probably our first significant snowfall this year. I think we have at least 6 inches or so. I think you got about the same, Caryn, right?
Yeah.
And so not really used to this. We haven't had much snowfall at all this winter time, and I'm sure a lot of you folks in the northern regions are probably a bit more like, you want some cheese with that wine? You know, we could be only so whiny about 6 inches of snow versus I'm sure you get feet or meters of snow. So, well, on with the presentation. Okay, HYPACK 2024 is what you all are here for, was actually officially released on January 31st of this year. And it's free to all maintenance plan members. So it's one nice thing about joining update and keeping the maintenance plan update in addition to unlimited technical support, you get all the free updates. So you can go up to our website and download any of the installs. The HYPACK 2024 is available up there now. We also include older versions too, but one thing to note is that HYPACK 2024 also includes all the updates, the quarterly releases we've had released over the last year, 2023. So there's no need to say download 2023 and so on. You could or any of the quarterly releases, all included in 2024. And when you install the software, just a note is that we're never overwriting the previous version. So if you can still retain HYPACK 2023 or before, it's just going to create a HYPACK 2024 folder, and you can basically bounce between projects from any of those versions. What we're going to talk about, basically like 10 pounds in a 5-pound bag. There's probably hundreds of new features, enhancements, bug fixes in HYPACK, and we're going to highlight probably the most exciting ones in 2024. And our plan is to release updates, quarterly releases each quarter this year. So our Q1 release is slated for around April 1st of this year.
Great, thank you, John. Our next is Project Wizard. So Project Wizard, last year we added the option to click on a map to select the correct UTM zone of your survey area. Now we added OpenStreetMaps and included the state plane zone boundaries. So you just zoom into your survey area, click on the map, choose to set geodesy, and this will auto-populate your geodetic parameters. One note, to use the OpenStreetMaps and get that best resolution, you do want to be connected to the internet.
Yeah, there are some basic low resolution maps in there that you could zoom into, but it's not going to work out great, of course, unless you're connected to the internet. It's still going to work, but you won't be able to zoom into I don't know, Peoria or somewhere like that if you want to really zoom into an area. What's nice too is that we're displaying the state plane zones as basically like a KML style file. If you select the state plane option, so you can really zoom in, and that's one of the questions. Somebody's in California, and it's like, what state plane zone do I select? And it's really depends on where you are. Now you can use this tool, kind of zoom into that area. You might be in the Sacramento area. Click on that, and it'll highlight the specific zone that you are working in. Okay. Another thing we've added is the time variable height transformations to our time variable transformations option in the geodetic parameters. Basically what this does is that we can now calculate a proper height based on ITRF ellipsoid. For example, a lot of the subscription type satellite systems are using ITRF rather than WGS84, and the height is going to be different than WGS84. So what we are doing here is that you could go under Tools and Geodetic Parameters, click on Time Variable Transformations. It's going to bring up your normal window. You select your ITRF. We do support 2020 now, but the most common is probably the 2014. Select that. Target system, we've tested only in NAD83. We haven't tested in other places, but if we could get folks to send us some coordinates, we'd love to just verify that it's all going to work in places outside the US, North America, I should say. But anyway, you would check the Enable Height Transformation option here now. So basically what that's doing is it's calculating an offset from WGS84 to the ITRF 2020 ellipsoid.
Yeah, one good note too is a lot of people are starting to use that RTX, and RTX is outputting ITRF. So if you are doing RTX corrections, you'll be wanting to use this.
And you'll notice when you're doing your, when you have everything set up, you can go into grid conversion, which is under Utilities, Geodesy, enter a latitude, longitude. It'll calculate your X, Y, also your final result. And you'll also see there's a little box there for datum correction, and that's the value that's being corrected when you check that Enable Height correction, Enable Height Transformation.
We did add geoid file converter last year, but we've added a little bit more. So the geoid model, we gave the ability for the customers to go ahead and create this with a handful of formats. Now we've added the ability to view the geoid as a 3D model. You can go ahead and click or enter lat and long and see that separation value.
Yeah, and also we support different GRA file formats. GRA is a lot like DXF and some other formats. They're very loose formats. XTF is the same way, that a lot of people have their own flavors of, if you will, of GRA file formats. And we support a few different formats. And a lot of them can just be modified slightly. Most of the time, it's basically a text format, an ASCII format that you could probably modify a little bit to fit the program. And if not, if you have that format and you want to supply it to us, we could always add that to the converter too.
This one is a really nice add, saves a lot of time for our users. You can easily invert the XYZ depths from the shell. You right click on the XYZ file from the data files list and then choose Save Inverted Depths. Lots of time saved because you don't have to go to the export utility, choose the file, select the option to invert, and then save. So now, nice little easy option to invert that file.
Yeah, the amount of steps when you're when you need to invert data and you have to go to export is you got to go to File. I'm sorry, Final Products, Export, choose the format, load up, enable the file, choose the invert option. Now we just whittle it all down to just a couple simple steps. This is an option. This was a request to be able to move and rotate plan lines. You might have your plan lines created, or you have a center line that you want to use, but you need to either move it over slightly or rotate it. So we have those options. You just right-click on a plan line in the line editor, and you have the options down below, move or rotate, or there are a couple keyboard shortcuts. You could hit M to move line or R to rotate the line, and it'll move that one line accordingly, or rotate. You just click on whichever waypoints you want to move and then just drag it to its new place, and it'll rotate your line. We were originally hoping to do an entire plan line set, but we're a little concerned that somebody might have miles long plan line files in a say along a river up and down a river or so, and we thought that might get a little bit too crazy attempting to try to move and rotate files along the river. So we just kind of kept it to one line at a time, and if we get interest from other users, we might add that option in the future.
And the target editor, when we changed the target editor to a database, it looked a little bit different in the targets. And when you open up the target editor, the default was the details page. Some of our users wanted that list view back. So we went ahead and now set the spreadsheet as the default. So you can see that full list of targets and their information right there when you open up target editor. We also added the deleted targets tab. This is a big one because we had a number of customers being like, where'd my targets go? They accidentally deleted them and they're gone. So now if you delete, it goes to this deleted targets. If you go make a change to a target, like you change the bearing or something and do a transformation, that information gets retained in the deleted targets, and then you get a choice whether you want to purge that data or not. So nice feature to retain all those targets. People will be happy about this one.
Okay, the TPU Editor. TPU Editor has been in HYPACK for quite a number of years now. We've every time somebody comes up with a brand new device, we usually have to modify the program in order to allow those the TPU values to be calculated. So we've put the option in here where you can add your own device, so you don't have to wait for an update from us in order to do this. So you can just go into add device. You'll have a window that says new devices, and you have a choice: positioning system, MRU system, multi-beam, or heading system. And you just enter the values based on the published values that are from the device. Click add, and it's going to list your device under the appropriate system, positioning, MRU, multi-beam, and so on. Now you can select that device, and it's going to calculate the TPU parameters. We can also do add your own standard. You might have a standard, maybe you're working at a port or something, and you want to have something that's a little somewhere between IHO order 1 and 2, a couple different values. So you can create your own standard here. That standard will be also used in order to calculate TPU in various programs, whether it's in displayed in high sweep or in MBMax when you're editing data. We also have the option to save all that information that you have entered into an RTF report, simple text type report that you can append to maybe your final survey or project report.
All right, the hardware vessel manager. This is one of my favorites. We've had export all for a while, and this option zipped up all the hardware settings, and you could save it anywhere. This was great. A lot of people saved it right in their project, or they would put it somewhere and it would get lost. So we took it one step further. We created a vessel folder within the HYPACK store folder. So now you open up your hardware, or you create a new hardware setup, then you go to the file, vessel manager, enter a file name. If you have multiple configurations for your vessels, say you're using a multi-beam and a side scan, or you're switching to a sub-bottom and a mag, and as long as you name that file accordingly, the next time you want to use that configuration, you just go back to the vessel manager, choose that setup, and it will be there for you. Very simple, easy to use. And the beauty of this is that you can see all your configurations in one location. You don't have to go searching for them. They're created, they're saved right there in the HYPACK store folder. And then you can access it from different projects, from different versions of HYPACK, and they're immediately available for you to use. No more searching for anything. If you're not familiar with that HYPACK store folder, it is an additional folder that gets created when you install HYPACK. So you'll have your HYPACK 2023, HYPACK 2024, and then there's that additional HYPACK store folder. And then you can use it for multiple versions and different projects.
Yeah, if you're not familiar with the HYPACK store folder, it's kind of a nice place to where we can try to keep common things like color files. What else is in there? Some of the maps. Now we have the HYPACK configurations and a few other things. What's nice about that, again, as Caryn mentioned too, is that you get a new version of HYPACK. You don't need to drag things from the old HYPACK folder into the new folder. And we're going to keep on adding to this HYPACK store folder for different things that can be common between different versions as we move along. And then the offsets spreadsheet has been updated. As you can see here, if you're not familiar, certain devices like multi-transducer devices like the Ross Smart Sweep, for example, we have a HYPACK device driver and we have a HYSweep device driver. The HYSweep device driver will display all the different transducer offsets under the All Offsets tab. The HYPACK one didn't, so we had to modify a few device drivers that are multi-transducer by nature, and those are now displayed under the All Offsets tab. In addition to that, we have the option to export the all offsets to a PDF file. So that's something new in 2024.
And some new HYPACK drivers and some updates to drivers. So we added the AirMar Echo. Before we could use the AirMar with the generic driver, but we wouldn't be able to get the echogram. So we did create a new driver for the AirMar dual frequency transducer, and now you can get echogram. We also updated the GPS driver where you can now enter multiple numbers in the GPS status codes. Before it was 0 to 4, and we know that there's a lot more status codes out there now. So now you can manually enter those values in. And then the new driver support for the Sontec RS5, which supports the bathy and velocities.
Yeah, we also have some updates to the sub-bottom universal sub-bottom device driver. Did some work specific with the applied acoustic sub-bottom and working quite a bit with that. There's a new driver for the Spectre autopilot, which is available in 2024. We did some modifications to the SBG DLL. SBG is kind of the universal driver for all the SBG IMUs. One thing that we have in all our other IMU device drivers is a slider in the device setup, so you can set a minimum solution level for recording your RTK tides. So that had been added to the SBG DLL. The Kongsberg network driver, we've updated the echogram, the bin format. That's kind of an internal thing, probably invisible to most people, but it's a more improved format, so from version 1 to version 3. And as I mentioned about the multi-transducer drivers being displayed in HYPACK hardware, the Knudsen K320 driver and the Navisound 210 driver are two drivers where you can basically offset your two different transducers on the vessel. So we do account for that in the All Offsets tab. And last but not least here is the MVP DLL, Moving Vessel Profiler. We've updated the velocity format to version 3, which essentially saves position, date, and time of the velocity location right in the header of the velocity file, and a few other additional customer requests.
And then we went ahead and updated some of the dredge pack devices. We added the DQM Direct for the Army Corps requirements for the cutter DQM sender, the hopper DQM sender, and the SI sender. And then we also added a new driver for the NTEC, which reads the draft and ullage levels, displays them visually, and sends the information to the LDM.
Okay.
All right, and then the auto scale matrix colors. So we've added the auto scale colors throughout HYPACK over time. And now we've actually, while you're in survey, if you have a matrix file and you want to auto scale it, go ahead and right click and say auto scale to matrix.
Yeah, you can either right click on the color bar or you can go to the matrix drop down menu and click on auto scale color. So you have a couple different options to do that. And it'll change your shell palette based on what changes were done in the survey program. Few other options that added to HYPACK survey, the hotkey Control T to freeze and thaw windows. Occasionally what would happen is that somebody might have a window on top of the location, the drop down location, which I think is under Windows, and it was the windows were frozen that way and you couldn't access it. So now we have a hotkey to actually get there and be able to unthaw the window if you need to.
This is a total game changer in support, because you used to have to go in and manipulate and edit their files to unfreeze that. So this is an awesome add.
Yeah, we don't really like telling people to go into their configuration file and modify it, change a 0 to a 1, and to look for some weird programming spelling items. So kind of a welcome addition to survey. We've also added multiple, you can have up to 6 maps, 4 data displays, and 2 left-right indicators in survey. Somebody might say deja vu, because we had something similar to this done 2 years ago, maybe, in our old survey program. This is what we codenamed RAD survey, and RAD survey was being worked on around the same time as what we call classic survey now, and we kind of missed out on being able to update that at the time. So now we're pretty much where we were with classic survey. And there's also a numbering for the data displays and left-right indicators. If you look here at the left-right indicator, it has a 1 and a 2. It makes it a lot easier when you're using the window tile and cascade type options there, so you know which ones you're actually moving around.
All right, and then the naming conventions. We always get asked to do some different naming conventions. So we did add the ISO, which goes year, month, and day, instead of our standard HYPACK file structure or the long file names or Canadian Hydrographic and Julian. So now all your raw files, HSX, log files will have this naming convention, the year, month, and day. I'm sure people will be requesting more soon.
Yep.
Oh, and this one's a great one, especially for support. We would get lots of calls saying, hey, I'm collecting my multi-beam. I'm not getting any errors, but I have no depth, and I have my matrix isn't painting. And it was normally either you had your settings set incorrectly, or you used your little middle mouse button where it zooms way out or way in, and you either had like this little tiny thing, or actually it would be way in, because then you would have no depth whatsoever, so you went past. Now we could say, hey, click on that auto scale profile, and it will auto scale what the data is, and no longer will we have the no data but no errors. So hopefully this is a welcome addition to HYSweep survey.
Yeah. We've also added the option in here for the R2 Sonic compressed water column. If anybody's ever collected water column data, I believe the rate is something like a gigabyte a minute when you're collecting water column data. It'll fill up your hard drive in no time. They've come out with this compressed water column, the TruePix water column, I guess is probably the best description of it. So in the R2 Sonic setup, you would just choose the log water column data, and you would check the box for TruePix. And being a compressed file, it's much smaller in terms of data output and everything. And that's a nice welcome addition. You're not really filling up your drive with a lot of unnecessary water column data.
All right, next is in sidescan survey. We've always had it defaulted, if you're creating a target in sidescan survey, to go right to the sidescan survey target group. If you're not familiar with the target groups, if you can add multiple target groups. So this gives us a nice addition to, or flexibility, if you don't want it to go into one specific target group, and you can choose. So that's a nice add there. And then we've also added support for the Falmouth HMS 624 sidescan sonar. And then we also added, we've had it in the single beam or for just HYPACK survey and HYSweep survey, but now for sidescan survey, we, for the HSX file, we will put the geodetic information right there in the header. This is a really nice option for if you're QCing your data to say, hey, where were you, or what was your geodesy when you collected this data? You can see it right there in the header, and it can also import that right into geodesy now. So it's a great tool for us when we're in the office, when we say send you some data, we can just import your geodesy right there, and we don't have to kind of search around and figure that out ourselves. So a really nice add to the sidescan, which was included in the other ones.
Yeah. In the single beam editor now, in SB Max 64, we've added an option to auto digitize the echogram. Occasionally, you've got an extremely noisy data set, and the echo sounder wasn't really successfully tracking the proper envelope of the echogram. So if you click on the auto button up here, it'll pop up this dialog over here, this auto digitize. So you could choose depth 1 or depth 2. You can enter a blanking value, which is basically get a lot of that upper noise, and it'll certainly aid in the tracking. We have a couple other options, this swell correct, which will try to eliminate a little bit of heave if you're not using a heave sensor. Don't rely on it, but it's available there if you want. Remove outliers too. You play around with the sensitivity, and then there's a few different bottom tracking methods. This is all based on what we had in our sub-bottom program, and we've adapted that to the echogram in SB Max 64.
All right, and the save option in single beam editor, we've had this in the MB Max 64, so let's add it to the single beam editor too. So you can go ahead and go to your save survey, enable the reminder or auto save option. So just choose which one, if you want the saver, do a save reminder, or it will auto save based on the minutes that you choose.
Also in SB Max 64, we've added an export option to in the echogram window, which will export the echogram information out to a ASCII file. You select, when you click on that, you get a little dialog that allows you to select the folder that you want to export. And it's going to export separate files for each data file, for each raw file. We've also added more functionality from the old single beam editor. One is the sounding migration, which is this window right here. This is where you could enter your transducer beam width. And basically what the program is doing, it's recalculating a position based on the inflection point of that beam when it hits the bottom. We've also added this add files option, which was a request. You might have, I don't know, you might have a project with about 20 files. You loaded maybe 15 or so. You didn't want to load the whole data set. You realize you need to load one or more files. So rather than have to reload everything else, you could just go click add files and choose those specific files you want to add and continue editing. And then also we've added the offline statistics window, which is very comfortable if you want to get on the boat driver's case. If he's not following the lines, you can show him his statistics, and yeah, maybe he'll do better next time.
All right, sort in the golden soundings priority. So a number of our users are using golden soundings more and more to save specific, whether it's a least depth item or a target that they really want to save, and they never want those soundings to be deleted. So when you're sorting out the data, if you want to thin out your data, now you can set the sort with golden priority to make sure that those soundings never get deleted. So it protects those, and then they'll be saved in an XYZ file for you.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, and then the tide analyzer. This one has been a request for a long time to add multiple tide files to the tide analyzer program. At first I was like, oh, you can add your working file and add another tide, that's fine. But it came to people they were collecting you're collecting your RTK, you're processing POSPAC data, and you wanted to check everything. You want to compare them. Instead of going to like an Excel program, you can just do it right here in the tide analyzer. So you'll load up your working file, and then you have 5 more options to load different tide files in there. And then you can sort, not sort, but you can smooth them and choose which one you want to use.
Yeah, I never realized how many users actually use the tide analyzer, and see these requests are quite valid. It comes in handy to be able to load a lot of these different files. And again, a lot of these options that we're showing, these new features are customer driven. They're requested by you folks, and we try to do our best to fit in what we can over the course of the year. So keep them coming. The cross sections and volumes, we did some changes about a year ago to the beach volumes calculation methods. And basically what it is the variable design template, where between each segment you can specify a minimum and maximum design additional template. So it'll calculate above and below the design template at a certain thing. So what was happening is that, yeah, it's great, but it works great, but there's always a void if you're changing, like you see over here within this circle. If you change, say, the flat area to the slope transition, you might see a gap in there, and it's not calculating those volumes. And when you think about a good sized beach, at that little area is going to amount to a lot of material that's not being accounted for. So we put this smoothing option, this little checkbox over here. And basically what it does, it kind of forces the transition into the slope. There's a range option that you can use, and basically what that's going to do is going to limit the range to the value that's entered here. So any gap that's larger than that value will not be used or calculated, accounted for in the volume calculation. In addition, we've added the version number of this the cross sections program in the header of the report. Also, this has been a welcome addition. We've had this in tin model for I don't know how long, for quite a long time, and somewhere along the way, it's like, oh, we should do this cross sections and volumes. So at least it's a good QC tool if there were any changes or that we did, somebody would know which version they were using and why it calculated a certain way.
And then in HYPACK Max, if you haven't used HYPACK Max, go ahead and give it a try. It's a different way that you can present to your data for some deliverables. We can now use the scheme builder settings in the in HYPACK Max, so you can make some changes and then they're stored in the HPR file. We also added some more support with integrating the Golden Soundings database, and then an option to multi-select the different items, and then you can move them, change settings up and down. So it gives us a little bit more flexibility than before.
And then the ADCP profile program, we've put a couple options in here to either delete cell or delete the entire ensemble. You just click anywhere within that map to do either one. If you just click on any spot, it'll delete the entire water column, basically, of all that data, or you can specify a specific cell. And we're also now supporting the Sontec RS5 here in the ADCP profile program.
All right, and then in the MB-Max 64, we have increased the loading of 256 to 1024. So we always said if you're loading up all these data, you have to have lots of RAM, because we do utilize your memory. So be sure to check when you're loading all your files, if they're very large files, that you have enough memory to load them. Otherwise, it will error. And then we also updated the read parameters device tab. If you go in there, it changes to show the mounting location of the MRU, heading, and your sonar devices. And then we also provides the sonar mounting on a rotator. So if it's installed on a towfish, you can now check that. And then parses the Archisonic compressed water column data and compresses the data in TruePix angle and magnitude. And then we also went ahead and updated the GSF exporting, right? Now handles the arctisonic ultra high density with the 1024 beams.
Yeah, GSF only supports 256 snippet sets, so we basically have to downsample the ultra high density. Before, I believe, I don't know if it was causing it to crash if you tried to load it, or if it just did not load it properly. But now it's being properly downsampled, and you can save that out to GSF. And a quick remark about increase the file limit from 256 to 1024. I guess come from the day when we're like, who in their right mind would load 256 files, multi-beam files in the editor? And well, we've gone way beyond that now. So, yep, it's just a different day and age right now. So. Okay, the Sigma for the map in MBMax 64 also we can display now the Sigma to 2 decimal places. Just gives you a better look, a bit more control or colors and everything based on looking at that Sigma value in the editor. And also the we overlay the cursor point anywhere when you're in the editor right within the water column. It's also going to show you the point there, and it's also going to draw a line from the show you which beam that point is coming from.
And then in the multi-beam editing with the S7K files, so we have the proprietary Rezon Teledyne S7K and the Norbit S7K files, and then allows the datagram to be interpreted as an ellipsoid height, surface vessels, or the dynamic draft underwater vehicles. So we had a customer had an issue a little bit with this, so we've added the option in here for whether it's a dynamic draft or ellipsoid height.
Mm-hmm. Okay, and then the TPU filter in MBMax 64, there's a new filter that was added. Automatically removes soundings outside the TPU limits, and again, we can actually view the new accuracies that can be added to the TPU editor. You get the standard yellow X's on the screen, like any other filter will highlight the values that are above or below that the TPU limits. And let's see, the soundings outside TPU vertical or horizontal limits are filtered out when you run the filters. Okay, and then the MBMax 64, a lot of stuff done in MBMax 64 this year. The accuracy standards. Now for the main screen, we can actually display the TVU, THU, or TPU based colors on the main map. So it'll show you what's within that area or what's outside those accuracy standards. Again, we can load these in the read parameters. If you go to the drop-down menu for the TPU section, you'll load up your custom accuracy standard in there. And again, you can again show the options, the uncertainties in the matrix display.
And then to tag along with that, with the saving options for the horizontal and vertical uncertainties, you have if you're saving out to the XYZ, whether it's all points or 1 point per cell, you have an option to save out the XY and then the horizontal or the vertical. In the past, we've had the XYZ vertical and horizontal, but now it gives you a little bit more choices that way. And then you can also apply a multiplier for those that are really small scale numbers. We also updated the GSF Export library to the 3.09.
I believe that's the latest one.
Yeah.
All right, and then water column playback. We support the arctisonic TruePix water column now in the water column playback program.
And then side scan targeting mosaicing, we've included the code base for geocoder. So now if you have backscatter data, you don't have to go to geocoder. It's still there, but you can actually load up your multibeam data right in the side scan targeting and mosaicing program and be able to utilize it for making your mosaics and making those georeference TIFFs. So a nice added feature to the side scan targeting mosaicing, or as other people might know it as HYScan, or the SSTM program.
Okay, and then the ENC editor, we did some modifications to this, added the AML, additional military layers, which are supported. This was initially developed for the French Navy. Of course, it's available to anybody that wants to use these military layers. We can import targets, HYPACK targets, or KML files from Google Earth, or exported from HYPACK. We can produce either the contour line bathymetry or the environmental seabed and beach AML compliant charts. So that's a new feature in the ENC editor for this year. Okay.
And go ahead.
Okay. The documentation, there's a lot of information. We update the Sounding Better newsletter every quarter, every time we have a release. So there's a lot of the information of what's new. Everything's described quite a bit more in detail. In addition, if you go into your HYPACK 2024 folder, and this goes to some of the older versions too, there is a documentation folder within the HYPACK folder, and you'll see quite a few PDF files in there. And we do update about, what is it, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, about 5 or 6 every year or so. But the English ones are updated all the time. We do usually do a Spanish and I believe a Russian one, but those haven't been updated in a number of years, and we'll probably update those accordingly. But there is a lot of information in here, like the common HYPACK drivers is very handy if you want to find out about certain specific device drivers that are being used for HYPACK survey. And then we have the high sweep and side scan interfacing, which describes the different sensors used in those programs, how to properly interface them, and so on. The 2024 release notes is a bit more in depth. If you want to get some more of the down and dirty stuff that's been added to HYPACK 2024. So, and then the manual, of course, is updated every year.
All right, and then training. We've got a bunch of classes coming up this year, some virtual, some in person, where we actually have a single beam training course this month. So if you are interested in doing some additional trainings, please reach out to our training and get signed up. And it would just be training@hypack.com. And these are paid. I just want to make sure that you know that these are paid. These are not free training sessions. And our newest one this year is going to be HYPACK, the Intro to HYPACK. So that will be coming up next month in March. Really good opportunity for those basic people, the people that are brand new to HYPACK and don't know much. You might want to jump in on that HYPACK training course. And then we will be doing some in-person multi-beam and dredge pack courses later on this year. And then we have revived the HYPACK certification exam. So we've had it in the past, and at some point when we switched to a new website, we dropped the certification on our website, and we just never really revamped it. So we thought it was about time to revamp this course. So I know a lot of people have been asking over the years, so we currently have just the HYPACK certification exam. You can scan this code, go in and take the exam at your leisure. It is not timed, it's an open book exam. So you can come back to it if you don't finish it, and then just continue where you left off. You can take it as many times as you want. And then we plan to have additional modules coming. So dredge pack, more into multi-beam. So keep an eye out for those. If you've already taken your certification, congratulations. And if you passed, congratulations. But hopefully you guys enjoy it. And if you have any things to add, please let us know.
Okay.
And then we might have, I don't know, we kind of ran out of time, but we might have some time for a couple questions, John?
Yeah, it looks like I think we have a few here.
All right. I can start with one of them here. It says, regarding the vessel manager, if working on different PCs, like in the office and on the survey vessel, do we just need to copy the HYPACK store vessel zip files to HYPACK store on the target PC? That would be an ideal solution. Just grab it and then bring it over to the other computer, and then you have it complete access to that.
Yep. Yeah, that seems to be the best.
That would probably be the easiest way.
Yeah, yeah. Here's another one. Can you run HYPACK 2024 on a Windows 7 computer? Can answer that with a question, I guess. Why? It would be the question. HYPACK, you probably could, but use at your own risk, because Microsoft is no longer supporting Windows 7. They stopped that back in January of 2023. So you're not getting any security updates and any other .NET updates and so on. So there's a good chance some things may not run. You might be able to get away with running survey and some of the basic stuff, but would not recommend it.
I agree.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see.
Here's a question. Wasn't Control T in survey to turn on off tracking? That is still the case, but I think it's the T, right?
It's just T. I think you just toggle. It's a toggle T.
Yes.
I have to check myself.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's what it is. So the T is the one for the freeze and thaw.
And now Control, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And there is a question that says when the new target editor will be integrated into MB Max. It's already an availability when you create targets.
Yeah, you can always open up the target editor alongside any of the editors, really, right? So I'm not really sure understanding of the question so much, but yeah, you should be able to open it and work in conjunction with MB Max.
Yes, yeah, it's available, and it will have a MB Max. Maybe he's asking for, or he or she is asking for the groups option.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll maybe coming.
Yeah. Here's one. The hardware offsets. Why is ROS Smart Sweep listed once with no offsets? This is the case with my single sounder setup too. One line with no offsets, transducer with the correct offsets. Yeah, it's changed a little bit. We weren't quite sure how to do it. I think the blank one is basically just a device driver, but it clearly says transducer offset right below it. So if it's a little confusing, maybe send an email to help or whatever, and we can obviously do some modifications if we wanted to make it a little bit more clear, right?
Yeah.
All right, guys. Well, we're unfortunately out of time, so we're going to have to wrap this up. But I do want to remind everyone again about our upcoming virtual single beam training next week, and also some of our trainings that we have scheduled for this year. So please visit our HYPACK website, or you can email us at training@hypack.com. We want to thank you all for your participation today and hope you enjoyed the webinar. Everyone will get a copy of this presentation, and we'll get in touch with anyone who had unanswered questions over the next week. Please don't hesitate to contact us. We would love to hear from you, and we can be reached at sales@hypack.com. You can also check us out on Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, and Instagram, just for some upcoming news and updates and things that we're going to be sharing. We hope to talk to you guys soon, and have a great rest of your day.